Directly above the Hollywood sign, it's ChrenBen's Friend Trends with Aaron Crennan and Ben Lepley, the working model of a healthy friendship.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on ChrenBen's Friend Trends. My name's Aaron Crennan alongside my best friend, Ben Lepley. How you doing, Ben?
Hey, Aaron. It's so good to be back for another podcast.
I know. These are just getting wonderful, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And today we're alongside another good friend of ours, Jeff Galante. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm well. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Thanks for being here, Jeff.
I have a question about your show.
Oh,
Okay,
sure.
yeah.
ChrenBen's Friend Trends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Would that not indicate that, like, you've chosen a period of time to be friends with fat people? Or then, like, okay, now it's time for us to be friends with exclusively Asians.
That's
like
a
trend.
Good question. I think it's more the trends our friendship have endured over the years.
Yeah,
Have you ever
that's
realized
what I would think. Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. See, I went to a different place.
I guess it's not friendship trends. It is friend trends. So you're right. It would be the kinds of people we're friends with go through trend phases.
This year, we're only going to be friends with a bunch of blind people. That's what's hot.
Blind year was the best year.
I learned a lot about myself and everyone else.
About prejudice.
You had to drive everywhere, though, which is a real hassle.
Right? Yeah. No one's picking up the.
I learned how to fold a $10 bill to tell it's a $10 bill in my billfold. That's actually from a different podcast, How Did This Get Made? Highly Superior, you should be listening to that. They did the Daredevil movie, and one of my favorite things that they talk about in that is it's like, they also do all these dumb blind tricks, like at the beginning, just to show you he's blind. Like, he's out fighting crime with like his, like, you know, super like cane with a chain in it, and he's jumping from building to building, and then it cuts to him in his apartment, and he's like folding a $10 bill in a billfold to make sure that's like how blind people count money. It's so...
My roommate did a show with the theater for the blind with this girl who was amazing. Her show was cute, and she was a good actor, and it was actually really cool, and they were friends, and she stayed with us for a while, and it was... I'm not even making fun of her because she would laugh at it. Like, it's exactly what you think it would be like to have a blind person stay with you who's unfamiliar with your house.
Oh, really?
Just like constant Looney Tunes crashing everywhere. And she was just like the cutest good sport about it. She'd be like, oh, man. But you'd just kind of be like eating your breakfast and you'd hear like the crash box go down the stairs. And she was just like, oh, man.
Again.
Oh, no. That wasn't a doorway. But she sounded like an old sheriff.
Yeah, she keeps getting older and older, I think. Yeah, it probably ages you.
She also
keep
had
falling down the stairs.
She was a very tragic girl.
What a life.
I know. And yet still had that plucky young attitude to put up her own show.
Yeah.
Better than we've done, you guys.
No, I was just going to say,
true.
she's done so much better than us.
Really makes you realize how pathetic we are.
At one point, she was on rollerblades in the show.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's
like,
hard for normal-ish people.
It was a musical, and it was
Sounds
like
horrible.
a Nobody Can
I'm
Keep
so
Me
sorry.
Down type song, and she was rollerblading around the stage.
Wow.
I was very nervous, but
She's so brave.
she was. Anyway.
Well, let's kick it off here. Actually, you brought up roommates and driving earlier.
I did.
What a great segue to my first story about the time I got an OWI. Are you guys familiar with what that is?
A no WI?
An OWI?
Before we start this story, can you, because I've always meant to ask you this, what is the difference between a DUI and an OWI?
See, there's no true difference in my mind. I just know that, or not my mind, in the real world, I think.
I was like, nobody cares what you think about
I
it.
want
It's the
to
law.
like go through your eye to like a ChrenBen's world.
Where he dismisses certain laws that displease him.
Because the way it's been told to me, and the way I believe, is
okay.
There's operating while intoxicated and then driving under the influence. And operating is like more of a, I could be very off, but is a more of a generic term some states have to use because there's so many farmers on like lawnmowers and tractors. That get, it's just like
I was just going to say, it sounds like this is like a crane person. who
exactly.
drank a
It
beer.
is like they had to like broaden their term because it wasn't just driving.
Oh, wow.
So, and I know there's another. I feel like there's a third.
There's DUI, DWI.
Yes, driving
Drinking-
while intoxicated.
Drinking under the influence.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
driving under the influence.
Yeah. So,
I like that all your Iowan friends like found a loophole and they got smashed and took out like John Deere's on the highway.
Right.
They were like, fuck the police. You can't stop us. And then they had to change the law.
I'm not driving, I'm operating. And then the DA was like, I've got something for you.
I just hated how the first time you hear about someone getting like an OWI on a bike, And
Yeah,
you're like,
you can get arrested for that.
and I was like, oh, that was like my go-to. I was like, well, I can't drive. I guess I should take my bike. And I'd go to parties that way. They were like a little too far. And then it was like, well, you can get very
Which
in
is
trouble.
like, it's infuriating to me because that seems like the most responsible thing you can do. Is like, I'm unfit to drive. I'm going to be safe and take a bicycle where the only person I can hurt is myself. And that's a crime. Like, what do they want you to do? Can you skateboard?
See,
Actually, I think anything with wheels.
That's stupid. That's really stupid.
Well, you know who doesn't think it's stupid? Mad B, Mothers Against Drunk Driving on Bikes.
Okay. Mad B, also late 80s breakdancing specialist. Both of them are very against me.
He's their spokesperson. Just because of the name.
so this all started, I was actually 21 at the time, and I think I'd actually, how did this go down? So we were at, I lived with my roommate, as you'd be, but I lived with a girl and a guy who were dating when they first started, when we first started living together.
That's
There was
the
a
first
sitcom.
mistake in this story.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the first thing went wrong in this story.
And then they, of course, broke up. So it was one of those happy situations where, like, they had. Luckily, there was an extra room in the house we were living in, because I think they had to like go under the guise that she lived in her own room, but it was like a patio. But then she actually ended up being where she lived. So it was horrible where she lived because she never thought she'd have to stay there, type of thing.
Right.
Anyways, so. He started dating another girl. Or just kind of seeing her. I wouldn't say they were dating, but
And then the other one would listen in from the patio.
right,
Glass
exactly.
against the wall.
But that got really awkward. Obviously, was when she came over like the once or twice, and it's like, oh, you're. I was like, I don't want to be here. But anyways, it was the new girl's birthday, and she was turning 21, and so we all go to the bar, and it's like a Tuesday night. So at UNI, the University of Northern Iowa, Tuesdays were pretty tame, as you can imagine. But they always try to get you out to go out to the bars with like amazing drink specials. So there was
Remember you can get like a pitcher of beer for like $2.
Oh, well, you can get drinks for a quarter. They were like a rum and Coke was a quarter.
Dang, dude.
And it was, so that was the first bar we went to. So what ended up you could get rum and Cokes or like Long Islands or whatever. It was all for a quarter. And I think there might have been like a $3 cover charge for this night. But so we started out there. We go there, and these obviously aren't the strongest drinks in the world, but you'd have about 10 of them, and you'd be, pretty good to go. And then on Tuesdays, you'd have to go to like another bar to get like their special. And so like it's still relatively early in the night, and like I don't really know this girl that well, so like my roommate was like, come on, you got to come out. And I was like, okay, because I don't have class on Wednesday. And so I ended up going out there. That's not true, because I remember specifically having class the next day. So I just was being a good friend, I guess. And
You're a problem drinker is what you are. If 10 drinks gets you pretty good.
No, that's the thing, though. You got to understand that these aren't like the strongest drinks. Like, these are the quarter drinks that they serve like for nothing, and like I'm sure it's just like a splash.
The
of
drink
alcohol.
was a quarter of alcohol, a fourth. It's so much.
And then, well, then you guys are really going to judge me, because we go to the next bar, and then I had 2 Long Islands at this bar, and then then she's like getting really hammered, of course, because it's her birthday. Like,
Of course.
I know, girls, right?
Oh, man.
And she's going to be taken back to the apartment where this guy's ex also lives on the patio.
No, that would have been the best scenario, by the way. That is not what happened.
She's going to want a frozen pizza, and she won't shut up until someone gets it and defrosts it.
So then, like, my night ends with like a watermelon star or two, which is like 151
Wait, what? What's a watermelon star?
151 and watermelon pucker. Never heard of that? Might be an Iowa thing.
Oh, I was imagining you took a watermelon, poured alcohol into it, carved a star shape out of it, and put your face in that.
That's the most disgusting drink
was.
I've ever heard of. That's like a dare.
Yeah, no, it kind of, well, it was like the birthday shot, and so I think I got her that, and we all had one, and then it was about 1 o'clock, 12:30, and I was like, well, guys, I gotta go. And we had been out for like 3 hours, so whatever. And I was like, I don't think I was that drunk, but of course I probably was. But so I walk back home and I go to bed. And while I was asleep, what had happened was my roommate and our other friend, he was out with them as well. They kind of got lost from the girl, and then that girl like ended up at some other guy's place, and then she was lying about it. So it was like real bad news as far as like her being drunk, and like he thought the guy was taking advantage of her, but apparently it turned out the girl wanted to be there and didn't really like my roommate type of thing.
That dude had frozen pizza.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently what they had done was like try to break down this girl's door and like to get her, and she finally like yelled at him like, I don't want to be with you, I'm with the man I want, or something really dramatic like that. And he was just furious. And so it wasn't so far that my roommate couldn't have drove back, but our friend who or walked back, I should say, our friend lived like 2 miles off campus, and he didn't expect things to go how they ended up going. And I think he actually had planned, I think he knew that girl more, and he was going to stay on her couch, but it was like this really weird thing where I'm not sure why he couldn't stay on our couch or something like that. So anyways, I get this phone call that wakes me up around 2:30 in the morning, and I'd been asleep for a while at this point, and they're like, Aaron, you got to come pick us up. And I was like, I'm not picking you up unless you buy me a Gatorade and a hot dog. And they were at the gas station. That's what they always had.
Who are you?
Horrible.
What kind of Shylock motherfucker are you that you're bargaining at this point?
Well, I just thought that if I said that, they'd be like, oh, man, we're not going to do that. Because everyone in college is cheap. But they're like, sure. And I was like,
is that your going rate?
Yeah, pretty much.
A hot dog and a Gatorade.
Should have been much higher in the end. So it really was like 5 blocks away. And then he, like, I mean, when you're in a car, 2 miles is like, it was probably like a 15-minute round trip is all I was really giving up.
It was like 7 blocks would have been a different food item instead of a hot dog.
Absolutely.
Like
2 hot dogs.
Let me do the math. 8 blocks, that translates to 1.5 Gatorades and box of Triscuits and a hot dog.
But I thought to myself, I was like, I'll eat the hot dog before I like drive any distance, and I'll have the Gatorade. So
and you've been sleeping. I always assume when people drink then sleep, when they wake up, it's like it's a
fresh
clean
slate.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So I go and pick them up, and they of course didn't get like the hot dog.
No,
they're like,
bastards.
we're out. So like they're like, here's a Gatorade, and
Lying
it was like
fucks.
It was like the Gatorade equivalent that Quick Star has, so it's like called Quick Power or something very dumb like that. It was awful. And so anyways, I get in the car, they're like telling me the entire story, and I'm driving him to his place. And it turns out, I mean, it's really not that far, and I was driving very cautiously, but when I turned onto this road, which is where did you ever go to that water park?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's where the water park is, and no one cares.
The water park.
There's a water park
in
there,
Iowa,
but
the
like,
one.
I saw that as
a sump.
Fans of this podcast exploding with excitement right now. Oh, they're talking about the water park.
Cedar Falls, I think they called it.
It's the one, Ben knows where it is.
It's an abandoned reservoir with a Rubbermaid tub that somebody has on the side that people will get into and
surrounded
try
by
to float.
gravel.
Yes.
So what ended up happening was, like, right when you turned right was where the speed limit was posted. But because there was a water park on the road, I guess in my mind I was like, this is residential, 25 miles per hour. Incorrect. It was 20 miles per hour. So I was going like 27 on my speedometer.
Oh, man.
And I went around a corner, and a car pulls out, and I start to slow down because he was pulling out slowly in front of me. And then I continued going, and I saw there was a cop, and I was like, oh, man, that was a cop. I was like, good thing I wasn't speeding. And then I pull into the parking lot, and where my friend lives, like, we were right there already. And I parked, and then I noticed that there was the lights were behind me, and I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, well, I'm already here. I was like, and I, like, parked my car and, like, turned it off, and they're like, he comes up to the window, and I was like, good evening, officer, of course. I'm drunk now. And basically, he was like, you realize you were going like 9 over. And I was like, no, the speed limit's 25. And he's like, it's 20. And apparently, because like the school residence was on it, like it was like where he lived was called Roth Tower. And that was like, or it is Roth. I'm not really sure what it means or stands for, but
fans of Roth Tower, right?
Oh wait,
it's hated.
Oh man, actually, it's like residents of the I don't remember, but it stands for something. It's like the school's apartments.
Yeah, the schools. So because they're the school's apartments, it made that road 20 miles per hour. And apparently my car speedometer, it was not accurate. So I was going like 9 over.
Really?
And he's like, and then you
Gonna blame the car on this one?
I am. Well, I
So
will.
you're the one who drank 151 and watermelon pucker, and you're like, oh, my car's speedometer is slightly
There's still
off.
more to this tale, Jeff.
All right.
This third-party Gatorade will dilute whatever alcohol's left.
Sounds like the years have not helped you come to terms with this.
Well, what? So from there, it turned into like, he of course knew what he had to do to get me to talk. He was just like, he's like, have you been drinking tonight? I was like, I drank yesterday. And meaning that like I had not drank since like 11:59.
You're a clever drunk with your wits about you.
Yeah.
But then he like asked why we were there, and I was like, I'm dropping my friend off. We're here. And he goes, and then they got out of the car. They were allowed to, and they're like, what floor does he live on? And then this is my biggest mistake, because I was like, and I was trying to remember. I should have said I don't know. But I had said I was staying there, and so he's like, "What's the house number?" Or like house name, because each like floor has a different house name, and they're always these like goofy, dumb names. Like ours was Scooby House. What was yours?
We had Cheers House, like the sitcom Cheers.
Yeah, I guess they're not that goofy. A lot of TV themed, but his was like, we'll
So
say,
no one donated to UNI, so they had to name the dorms after TV shows.
Sitcoms,
because
yeah.
normally there people donate money and they get names.
No one donates.
There were weird
They
ones
just
too.
pick
Like,
their favorite shit.
there was like Stone House, which no one knew where that came from. So that was probably like a rich family.
That was the Flintstones.
It's a typo.
Yep.
So I was trying to like remember what it was, and I was like Slytherin, and he's like, oh, this
Slytherin.
guy. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. Hufflepuff. And so it was clear that I was drunk, and he's like, get out of the car, and he makes me like walk the line, and then that's when my like smugness about the whole thing started to take over, because the line he asked me to walk was curved, and he goes, walk a straight line, and I was like, you are fucking with me right now.
Again, I'd like to point out that it seems as though you are certain that the line on the ground was curved and refusing to acknowledge that in your 151 drunken state, perhaps the line appeared curved.
It was absolutely curved.
Just to clarify, there was a line on the ground,
There was like a crack. There was a crack in the ground.
but he wasn't telling you to follow the crack. He was telling you to walk a straight line, right?
No, he said follow the line in the ground.
Oh, then he was fucking with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And then so I was like, sir, this is clearly a curved line. And he's like, don't get smart with me. And I was like, oh, no. It's like, it's this guy. I'm like, I'm sure he's not happy that it's like a student who's drunk driving. But there was like a series of other tests, like the eye test, and like you have to balance your foot.
The Wonderlick test.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Your
passed
40 time was terrible.
I passed them all, but because at this point it was after 3 a.m., there's like a rule in Iowa that everyone has to blow. Like, so I was like, damn it. So at 3:06, I blew, and I blew a .102.
Yeah.
Which is, or .12, I think, at that time.
pretty good, dog.
And I was like, well, damn it. And he's like, you gotta come with us. So then my roommate at the time was like really freaking out, but I was very calm because I knew I was already caught, I guess. So when I was like in the back seat, like I was smiling at him really goofily, and he's like, what's happening? No, why is he doing that? And the cop's like, get him out of here, because he was the most drunk of all of us.
I mean, you're forgetting the big thing, which is that despite all your mental trickery and despite your ability to pass the sobriety test, like, don't forget that whatever you think, you looked drunk as fuck. Like,
No,
your
but
eyes were bloodshot. You were droopy. You look like you're a fucking disheveled idiot. Like, you look drunk. You can try. And the harder you try to focus, the drunker as fuck you look.
All right.
Not even you personally.
Maybe I
like
was
anybody.
drunk. Okay.
Yes.
But I wasn't. No, I was. But and
Is that hot dog? Is
right?
that fucking hot dog?
He's like,
What if he says, like, I wish you would have eaten something before you came to pick your friend up?
Is that sneering at him? God, son of a bitch. So then they're taking me to the station, and what ends up happening in the car was I told him on the same road that I was going 29 on, he was going 28 on. And I go,
No, Aaron.
and I go,
Good.
sir.
Smart. I'm sure he was very happy.
Well,
that
I
you
was
noticed
already
that.
caught. I figured I could say whatever I wanted. And I was like, sir, not to be like a pill, but I was like, you realize you're going the same speed essentially that I was going the same road.
He tosses you the keys to the cuffs. He's like, well played, perp. Well played. Lets you go. He gives you his gun and his badge, and he's
Slow
like, take
clap.
this.
You got me.
Take this. You've earned it.
And I go, and he goes, no, I'm not. I go, I can see your speedometer. It says 28 miles per hour. And he goes, I don't go by the speedometer. And I was like, what? He goes, I go by my radar. And his radar says like 21. And I was like, get the fuck out. I was like, wait a minute. I go, you don't even trust your own speedometer? How am I supposed to trust my own speedometer? He's like, I just go by my radar. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I was like, I don't have a radar in my car. I had no idea how fast I was going then.
How did you not get the shit kicked out of you?
I don't know.
It's Iowa. We've been in LA for a while, so.
Right. And then like that kind of happened, and I started asking him all these like strange questions. I had like rumors that I've heard about OWIs, not important, but it's like if you suck on pennies, all that Mythbusters shit. And so we get to the station, and now I'm like being booked, and like the woman couldn't get my thumbprint at all. And she's like, we're having such a hard time getting your thumbprint. And literally it was just like a blue mesh or a like mashup of fingers. You could not tell what they were. And she's like, well, that's it. And she's like, that's my job. And I was like, you don't even have to make sure they're good. And then I take my
You're a sassy fucking perp, man.
and then they take my photo, and she's like, what a handsome smile. And I was like,
And then you
I was like,
fucked her in the cell.
I was like, this woman loves me. And so like I talked to her, I was talking to her a lot, but like the guy who brought me in hated me. And
Well, yeah, you were asking about penny sucking.
yeah, exactly. I had all these like things. I was like, what if I would have thrown my keys in the grass and like started downing a bottle of vodka, which is like the other thing you hear, like they couldn't prove when you started drinking. And of course you're going to blow over because they saw you drinking the vodka. That was another thing I asked him. And he's like, I'm not going to answer your stupid questions. I was like, okay. But what ended up happening there was, or from there, I was like in this like glass cell, and
Like Magneto.
exactly. But it wasn't like it wasn't all glass.
X-Men
guys.
99.
And they started like looking at the things that were in my pockets, and you must understand what I was wearing, because I didn't really think I was gonna be out that long. Was like a track jacket with no shirt underneath, athletic shorts, and just like sandals. And it was like 50 degrees out outside, so I was like shivering when I was doing all those little tests, and I looked really stupid to boot, and because nothing matched, guys. And but when they're looking through my things, it was like I didn't even have my cell phone with me, and all I had was my keys and my wallet. I was so glad I brought that. But on my keys earlier that year, because school had just literally started like 3 weeks before, there was I had gotten in like the student commons area, there was like the Cedar Falls police were there with their little keychains that said "Don't drink and drive," and so that is on my keychain. And the guy picks it up, looks at it, and he goes, look at this fucking shit. I could see it like mouth it perfectly. And I was like,
through the glass.
and then he nudges the woman who loves me, and she's like, oh. And then he looks up at me, and I just give that like, who thought? You know, I like shrug my shoulders really big and throw my hands in the air like, whoopsies, I did it. And he got so mad at me, but he couldn't do
Curb Your
anything.
Enthusiasm end of episode.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I like stay the night in jail and wake up the next morning, and this really just ends with me walking into Ben and I's 9 a.m. class after like taking a taxi ride from the police station, which was in Waterloo, and I had headphones in. And I remember that it was Coelte's class, and I walk up to my back to the teacher. I didn't realize I was 5 minutes late. I think I was actually more drunk then than I was when I was driving.
The alcohol compounded in your system.
So headphones in, I apparently screamed to Ben. I go, you'll never guess where I slept last night. And Ben is like, its class has started. I turn around and Coelte clearly had been interrupted. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then the whole time, all I wanted to do was tell Ben the tale, but I couldn't because class, and that's pretty much it. But
And then the door kicks in. That woman who booked you is there. She picks you up like the end of An Officer and a Gentleman as Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong plays, and she carries you out.
Oh my god.
Roll credits.
yeah, that was my whole OWI tale, which was just a real. But then at the station,
Which he refused to this day. How many years ago was this?
that was 2006.
So 8 years later, it seems as though it was the speedometer's fault, the curved line's fault. Had nothing to do with 151, which is the alcohol industry's plan to kill mankind. Has nothing to do with any of that.
Hey,
but
bud.
the one thing
I
about
believe you.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
No, I refuse. I accept responsibility for my actions.
At the station, I blew a .10, and then she goes. The woman was like, "Oh, just a .10." She goes, "Just like a year ago, that's when it changed to .08." She was like, "You almost got
This
off."
is like
And I was
literally like textbook like
Yeah.
BPD shit, where you're like, this woman's validating you. It's like she's right. Clearly, she knew. She does this all the time. But
knew.
you're relying on her and her weird, which is probably completely fabricated support of you
You know,
to justify this.
there's a word for her, and it's enabler.
Yes, very much so.
I miss her so much, guys.
I hope she hears this podcast. She's been trying to hunt you down ever since she had all of your information and your fingerprints.
Right.
Man.
You want this to be a conspiracy where she's just like, yes, Officer Thomas always uses the curved line technique. Don't trust him.
It's okay, hon. He gets everyone.
Ugh.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm sorry for your misfortune. It's just when I hear it's the speedometer's fault. And I hear that you somehow told the cop that.
When the cop says he doesn't trust his speedometer because it's not accurate,
They're cops.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say to that.
You and I had different DUI experiences.
Tell us your DUI.
You and I had
experience.
very different DUI experiences. There are a lot of similarities, but there was some key differences. All right, so I went to University of Virginia, and I never had a car. I never had a car in high school either. So I was just like used to drinking and walking. And, like I had no conception of drunk driving other than like that very special episode of Blossom or whatever.
Nah.
So when I moved to LA, it was crazy, and I had my first car, and you know, you're getting college drunk still, and then driving from like Hollywood back to Venice where I was living at the time, and it was every night was a death-defying adventure. And my dad was sick at the time. Not to bring it down, it's okay. He was a former drunk. He would approve.
Nah.
But so I was drinking like to kind of deal with that. And it was just a mess, like a downward spiral mess. So I was living at the time with a friend, my only friend out here, and I was dating a girl. And I had suspected them of having a thing. They were like flirting with each other.
Oh, no.
So compounding all this stuff and like depression and like weirdness about my dad and that. So I was drinking like crazy one night. I was like through like almost like a whole bottle of vanilla vodka because I'm a classy man. And they had put me to bed. They're like, go to bed. You're just like really drunk. So I just abided. And then similarity, woke up at like 2:30 in the morning, not done yet because I had like in my sleep been inspired to like deal with my friend.
You had a vision quest.
I did. I was like, this needs to be dealt with now. Like the proper time to deal with this is at 3 in the morning. So I had endeavored to drive to Santa Monica. I was in Hollywood at the time now. I was going to drive to Santa Monica and beat up my friend. which is not even typically me. Like I don't beat up a whole lot of people.
It doesn't seem like you.
No, but I was just like, I had decided on this. Like it was my idea. So I got in my car. I had not changed out of my work clothes yet. I was a waiter at the time, so I had on my nice black shirt, my black pants. But I took off my shoes and socks because I liked the way the pedals felt on my toes.
Oh, my God.
So I was driving.
Such a fucking poet.
Yeah, I was driving barefoot, going down the 10 to Santa Monica, going to Lincoln Exit to beat up my friend. I brought a drink with me because, you know, who wouldn't? It was a different time, you guys. It was the mid-2000s.
This sounds like your version of the curved line.
It was the mid-2000s.
The mid-2000s. Things were different.
Yeah, I had my, I remember this very vividly. I had vanilla vodka and root beer.
Oh, that's actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's tasty. In a 99-cent store mug that looked like an elephant. The trunk was like the handle. So I had that in the car. I was driving.
Did you blow on it to make it look like it was coffee to cops? Like, ooh, this is hot. This mug of.
There was no. You'll hear, spoiler alert, there was no opportunity to fool the cops in this story. There was no bargaining like Crennan did. So it's like 3-ish in the morning, maybe 3:30. I'm driving to Lincoln, and I think I fell asleep.
Oh, man.
Because when I woke up, my car was crushed against a divider right by the exit. Almost made it to Lincoln.
So close.
So I'm out of the car. I'm okay. I do like my check, and I'm feeling all right. So the first thing I do is I try to pop the hood to see if I can fix the car, because I know nothing about cars, but I'm like, I can make this work. So I check the oil, and it's fine, because it's the only thing I know how to do. But the car, meanwhile, is completely totaled like a coffee cup. But there I am with the hood open, trying to check fluids to see if I can get this thing running.
Oh, my God. The regular Valvoline employee.
So I'm holding my mug and sipping and trying to fix my totaled car as a car comes by, and I wave it down because I'm like, oh, I need some help. And it's the California Highway Patrol. So the California the California Highway Patrol finds me alone next to a totaled car at 4 a.m, barefoot, drinking from a mug. And we just look at each other, and there is no like trying to answer questions. There's like a tacit agreement of like, this has happened.
Right.
And there's no getting out of this. Do what you must do. So I take my field sobriety test, and I perform famously. Amazing.
Oh, wow.
You know, fantastic. And they actually applaud me on that, despite the fact it's already agreed that we're drunk. So I blow.
It really just goes to show how little that field sobriety test.
Yeah. I think when you focus, you can touch your nose.
It's a real song and dance.
Yeah. So then I blow in the breathalyzer, and I'm in the car, and that officer's kind of nice, taking me to the station. I get booked. I remember my mugshot being kind of good too. I guess the camera is just like low pixel or black and white. It's like an Instagram. So this is when it gets interesting. So the guy who actually was watching over me, I was in like my own cell for 3 days. Spoiler alert.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
really?
I did not get out the night after like I thought. So the guy who put me in that cell, Officer Hoffman, like major league dick. I'll never forget. Because I was like, hey, I have a question. And he literally put a nightstick to my neck against the wall. He's like, you will sit in the bed. You will not ask questions. And I'm like, I'm not a threat to anybody. I have no shoes on. And I'm just like, I'm kind of scared. And I was curious if I had a phone call. Oh, you will sit in the bed. And like, this is such a nightmare. So they tell me I have 3 phone calls.
Oh, that's generous.
Yeah.
One a day for each day you were in there.
The movies lie to you.
It's a bunch of calls.
The movies lie to you.
Oh, just a sidebar. When they asked me if I could call anyone, both my parents had just moved, and neither of them had a cell phone. So they're like, can you call anyone? I was like, no. And they're like, do you not know your parents' phone numbers? I was like, no. And they're like, well, you're out of luck.
Oh, no, we're getting right to that, my friend. So I'm not about to call my parents because I thought I was just going to be overnight, do the drunk tank thing. I'll be like, oh, I'll deal with this tomorrow. So I was going to try to call my friends, but in this mid-2000s world of ours, nobody knows anybody's number.
Right.
So I don't know anyone's number other than people I grew up with, like friends when you're a kid and you dial them.
Yeah.
So they're like, look, you can call this number. It's like a bail program. You answer some questions, and if you qualify, they'll bail you out. I don't even know how bail works. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. So I call this number, and they're on the phone. And they're asking me a bunch of questions, and I feel so guilty about what's happening, and I'm panicking because I'm not like cheeky fuck like you. I'm like feeling bad about it. So they're like, all right, what's your name? And I tell them. And they're like, what happened? And I tell them. And they're like, all right, what's your history with alcohol? And you're supposed to be like, I drink once in a while socially. But I opened up to her like she was Barbara Walters. So it's like, what's the history with alcohol? And I'm like, well, I'm having a really hard time because my dad's sick. So I feel like I'm leaning on it like a crutch.
Jeff.
I've been drinking a lot during the days, even when I don't want it. She's like, all right, what's your history with drugs? What are you supposed to say?
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. I was like, oh, well, I smoked a lot of weed in college.
Oh, my God.
I dated a girl in finance for a while, so I experimented with cocaine. But it's not something that I do regularly. And I did do mushrooms a few times. I actually brought some in from Europe. It was really, really crazy. I got them in my backpack in like a trail mix bag, and I took them through LaGuardia. This is my application for bail.
Can you hear like the
Yes.
keyboard typing
Yes.
in the background, all this down?
Could you hear her judgment of you?
No, it's just I could hear her transcribing the idiot shit that I'm saying.
Oh my God.
Then came the time for references, which was my favorite part. Because I needed 3 references. And I'm like, who the fuck do I put as a reference for this? I don't know anybody's number.
Right.
So I'm giving names that I know in LA, friends, and I'm giving them my phone number because it's the only number I have, and my phone's at home anyway. So 2 of my references have the same phone number, even though they're different people. And then a third one was Ed Kennedy, shout out Ed, who was my best friend growing up because that's the only other number I remember. So now my phone is going to get reference calls, and Ed, who hasn't talked to me in like 6 years, is going to get a call like, Jeff is in jail. He's put you as a reference. So I'm in this cell. What's crazy is that you can't see like the outside. And like day turns to night really fast, and like I'm alone in the cell and the lights are on. It's like it gets trippy because you don't have a sense of what time it is.
Right.
And I figure I'm going to be out the next day.
Right.
And I get this little intercom in the cell, and the intercom is just like, "You missed the bus to court. You're going to have to stay in jail another day." And I'm like on the intercom. I'm like, "I'm here. You know where I am. Like I can't get to the bus.
I'm in jail."
Yeah, like you guys come get me for the bus. I will get on it." So then like a day passes and I'm like going a little loopy. I'm like trying to like entertain myself, and they gave me a Tom Clancy book, but it was so bad that I chose not to do anything as opposed to read Tom Clancy.
They had Tom Clancy books on file to keep prisoners.
They had like a little cart.
Oh, a cart. Okay.
So then the next day comes around, and they're like, "You missed the bus to jail. You're gonna have to wait another day." And I'm freaking the fuck out, and I'm like, I don't know how this process works.
Oh my God.
A third day comes. And then they were like, "You missed the bus to jail. We're going to have to transfer you to county prison." County prison. And I'm like losing my shit. And I keep pressing the button. They're trying to talk to the intercom. And I'm like, my dad is a lawyer. And he's going to wonder where the fuck I am. And my dad is not a lawyer. In which case then...
Sounds like a Crennan cheekiness.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, this is the one. Yeah, 72 hours later, I get an idea. That's what happens. So they let me out. And they're like, "You can make another phone call." At this point, I'm panicked. I'm like, I'm calling my parents. Like, help. I'm done. Just help me. So I call my parents. I'm like breathing, getting ready to tell them what happened. And they already know. And they're like, "All right, we got a guy to bail you out, like the bail bondsman and stuff." And I'm like, "How did you know?" Because apparently Ed Kennedy, who hasn't seen my parents in 6 years, calls them up. And they're like, "Hey, Jeff's in jail." So then I get bailed out and all that happens. Incidentally, just the last part is that I met with a lawyer who sucked. I hated him so much. And I was like begging him. I'm like, "I'll do anything not to go back to jail. Just tell me what I have to do." And he told me buttermilk. If you coat your mouth in buttermilk, for the listeners at home, you will not blow. So you need to have a mini fridge in your car with buttermilk.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
Wow.
I might start to have to try that out sometime.
Yep, there you go. No pennies, but just coat your mouth. So when they're coming to the car, just swig with buttermilk. They have pancakes dripping down your chin. And you're just like, "I'm going to know, but what's been the problem?"
It's so hard to keep buttermilk good. I mean, it has to be chilled.
I don't know.
I
And the
guess a
other
bucket
thing
of
we
ice.
talked about, and this is, again, lessons for the viewers at home, last thing I'll say, is that if this happens to you, it's not like throw your keys and like drink vodka on the site. The one thing to do, listeners at home, I don't condone this, but, and it sounds extreme, abandon your car and run. And then the next morning, report it stolen. That is the only course of action that will save you.
Well
Sleep in a
done.
bush, abandon your car, and run.
Instead of calling for the roadside assistance,
Do nothing.
which will report you.
Do nothing.
when they see you shoeless.
Run, run, and abandon your cars.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yes.
Oh my God.
More you know.
Well, I don't have a DUI story.
No,
I
Ben.
play by the rules.
Not yet.
I try to uphold the law. I have a story that does involve cars and alcohol in a couple of ways. One morning, I came out of my apartment to go to work, and my car was on the street, a 2002 Oldsmobile Intrigue, which was my dream car.
Pussy mobile.
It was a pussy wagon. And it was given to me for graduation. It was the car that I had learned how to drive on because my dad had one when I was in high school. And I had this weird fixation on this car. I loved the 2002 Oldsmobile Intrigue, and it had leather seats. It was like a luxury businessman sedan. And that's just the kind of car I've always wanted and will always continue to want for the rest of my life. I don't need anything sporty. I just need something that's got like the comforts of a middle class working man.
Sedan.
There you go. So I come out to go to work, and it is accordioned. So the inside is shoved into the front end, and the trunk is shoved into the back end. And there's a note under the windshield that's like, "Call us, the police."
What? They leave windshield notes?
Yeah. And what had happened is this kid was drunk and very drunk, and he ran his car into the back of mine and shoved it into an SUV in front of it. So it totaled his car, my car, and the SUV from behind. The SUV's owner lived in the house next to where the accident happened, so she heard it and came out in the morning, saw what happened, and called the police. He had to be taken away to the hospital. He was in bad shape, and they towed her car and they towed his car, but because no one knew who I was just parked on the street, they were like, "Here's a note."
They're the police.
Yeah.
They can run your plates.
They could.
What kind of people are like, "Oh, man, should we leave a note?"
Call us in the morning. And I remember going over to it, and this woman came out who lived in a nearby house and sort of caught me up on what happened and said, "Oh, you're having a bad day, aren't you?" And it was just, I mean, like, the trunk it was shoved up into the back seat and everything in there. Like, I keep so much crap in my trunk, like dumb little prop costume things too. And it was all just like a bathrobe was out on the street and like a wig and like just it's awful. It's a nightmare. So I had to get a new car.
Like, this transsexual's car has been totaled.
You don't look like the thing that owns this car, says this middle-aged suburban lady. Anywho, as I needed a new car in pretty short order, so I had rented a Focus once. When
worst car ever made. I had one of those. Worst car ever made.
I like my Focus. I had a really good time driving it around because it had that sync system in it. It's where you can plug like a USB stick with music in it.
Oh, never mind.
That's the only reason. No,
it's amazing.
And the 03 Ford Focus.
Yeah, Sorry
if I'm losing your sponsorship.
Oh yeah, no. That's why they gave it a slight upgrade via Microsoft to put in. It's this very dumb sync system that has this like vocal recognition, and I was sold on that. Also, it has a button in it where you can press it and it changes the color of lights that illuminate the cup holders and the floor mats in the passenger and driver's seat. So you can sit there and press it and it goes like purple, yellow, blue, gold, green, orange, white, not off. And you can do it in time with the music. This made me buy the car along with the sync system.
Sounds like your sweet 16.
Yeah. It was a Sadie Hawkins dance on wheels. Before I got the Focus, though, I started thinking about what I wanted, and I remember having rented it for some other reason way back when. So I was like, I'm getting a Focus. Drove to Glendale, went to a Ford dealership, and I met this guy, had snowy white hair, snowy white mustache, and
Santa.
Yeah, in so many ways. And he came out, helped me. We test drove one, and everything was fine. It was really just a very casual, normal process of buying a car. Except that he kind of had like a club foot thing going on. Like he kind of like dragged his foot when he walked, and I didn't think anything of it. But as we were test driving this car, talking about like what I do, and I was like, I do this cartoon with my friend, blah, blah. He's like, "Oh, great. I just sold to an animator. That's so interesting." And very, very hurriedly and not naturally, he inserted into the conversation about what I do for work that he didn't own a cell phone. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." It's like, "I got to use my son's if I got to make a call. No cell phone for me." It's like, "All right, cool." So I take this car up to about 80 miles per hour on the freeway. I just want to see what the pickup on this four-cylinder.
What color those cup holders changed to?
I put it to red for code red because we were hitting overdrive. And he said, "Oh, hey, Ben, like easy, don't go crazy on me here. This is, we don't want to get pulled over. I just, I don't have a car, but my son's got to drive me around." I was like, "Well, what does that have to do with me going too fast?" Just super weird information. No phone. Can't drive, son has to drive him.
I still think it's kind of weird that you thought nothing of a man with a snowy white mustache, snowy white hair, and a club foot. Like, that's fine for you? It's like a pirate king.
It seemed natural at the time. I was so ready to just get something. I didn't question anything, and I should have questioned everything.
The crippled Santa Claus was selling it to you. Didn't bother you.
Then we got back to the dealership, and we were continuing to just talk about day jobs and stuff. And at the time, I was doing social media for a big vodka brand. And I mentioned that as we're going into the dealership, and he goes, "Oh, you work for a vodka company? Oh, how interesting. You work for a vodka company. Maybe once I sell you this car, you could bring me a bottle as a little thank you or something." And I'm like, that's very funny. I can't do that because they don't even give us vodka at this agency, so it's not going to happen. But it would be nice, wouldn't it, if we could get some free product from them? And you go, absolutely. But seriously though, if you want to just pick a bottle up or something, it's always nice to get gifts. I'm like, all right. So I decided to go look at Toyotas.
Anti-Santa.
Seriously.
He's taken. He's not given.
Dark Santa.
I go look at some Toyotas. I decide I like the Focus better. Swing by again, check the Focus out one more time. He comes out, finds me, goes, "Hey, Ben, come on into my office. I want to show you something." Walk on into his office. He takes out this big box that has olives in it, and he goes, "I just sold a truck to an olive farmer." And he was nice enough to give me these cans of olives from his farm. But let me tell you,
buy your own bottle of vodka.
I really wish I had a glass of vodka to drop these into. I think I'd take a bottle of vodka over a can of olives. You know what I mean?
How convenient that it was olives. Did he
I feel like he bought them at a
Plant that?
grocery
Yeah, he
store.
planted it.
Yeah, totally. An olive farmer bought a truck in Glendale, took it north to his olive farm because he got such a great deal.
Did he take out a skull and just say, "This is my son. I'd like you to meet my son."
He has a cell phone I use. So for some reason, I can't remember what now. I didn't buy the car that day. I decided I wanted to look at, like Volkswagens or something stupid. Didn't work out. Got a call from him. "Hey, Ben, listen, somebody's looking at that Focus. So if you want to get it, you got to come over right now." I'm like, "Okay, man. Thank you for giving me the heads up. I am ready to buy. So I'm going to come over on my lunch break." "Great. And if you could just bring a bottle of vodka, that'd be incredible." And I'm like, really, this isn't me. Like,
Someone wants to buy that car. He's an orange farmer from Florida. If only I had some vodka to put in this orange juice.
I need a fresh screwdriver to get through the rest of this day. So I drove over there.
I hate this guy.
Get the car, brings up vodka one more time, and I'm like, "Listen, sir, I don't know how many ways I can tell you this. We don't get vodka for free for them, and I'm not going to buy you a bottle of vodka. I'm buying this car, which is more money than I'm comfortable with, but I'm doing it, so you don't get a gift in addition." Very firm with him. Get the car, drive off the lot. 3 weeks later, me, Aaron, and Aaron's girlfriend Jenny are at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Shut up.
Having a great day, enjoying the day.
Nope.
And my phone rings, and it's from an unlisted number.
Nope.
And I pick it up. He goes, "Hey, it's so-and-so from whatever Ford in Glendale." "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Great. Just wanted to make sure that Focus was still treating you right." "Oh, great. Yeah, it's working wonderfully. Really love the colored lights and the sync system." And then he goes, Great. And just wanted to see if you could give me a bottle of vodka. I just need you to get me a bottle of vodka. And I go, this conversation's over. If you ever call me again on my phone, my personal phone, to ask for vodka, I'm going to talk to your manager. I really laid it out. I was like, we're done here. And he goes, "Okay, but if you could just," I just hung up on him. And then we started talking about it at Six Flags, and it was like, oh wait, doesn't have his own phone. Was he mangled in some kind of a car accident? He gets booze from his customers, probably keeps it at his desk at work, can't bring it home.
No,
all the pieces
because
were given
homeless people can get booze.
Well, no.
Hobos can get booze.
I'm saying, what if his family back at home was he can't bring vodka in the door because they check every day.
He doesn't have to go in the door. He can go wherever he wants.
This
doesn't make sense,
Jeff, is there something where the courts can say you can't buy alcohol, and on your credit card they put a little flag that's like, "Don't sell this, man"?
You don't use a credit card. There's something weird and is
there a tattooed barcode
demonic at work here? There's something like the ring. He has to make you buy it for
Right.
him so that his disease is passed on to you.
It was probably more psychological than.
That's why this freaks me out so much.
Yeah.
Because it's not hard to get $20. You go to the store. He's an old man. They're not going to check his ID. It's very easy.
Well, he could have just gone gray early.
There is something about
Real
this.
early.
There's some evil like incubus at work that requires you to buy it for him, and then he gets to pass on like the juju to you.
Well, in his defense, he hasn't called me since, and I really hope that he got the help that he needed.
Because
he's listening right now.
It's not exactly expensive either.
No, it's not. I mean, this wasn't like a great vodka brand. I mean,
Whatever commission he got off the sale to you. Was he even really a car salesman?
It's possible that he was just posing as a car salesman, and how he gets his alcohol is by showing off cars.
What if he's an olive farmer?
Oh, he's the olive farmer. Ah, okay.
Way to explain.
That's how we got the olives.
Yeah.
Well, this was a treat. I think we all learned a lot here
I've
today.
learned nothing. This is unsolved, and this is lingering over me that there's a demon out there trying to pass on bad voodoo to people.
It's still an open case, I guess.
This is a horrible ending.
I hope someday we can record a part 2 to this where it all comes back together, where I bump into him at a Sizzler and he takes my vodka and tonic that I'm enjoying with my steak.
It's a vampire. Like, vampires can't go into your house unless you invite them.
Right. Yeah,
so he's like some kind of alcohol vampire.
Well, yes. I mean, say he's an alcoholic and he justifies being able to have a drink by saying
he was cursed. He was cursed. Like, he was cursed to forever thirst for alcohol.
By an olive gypsy.
Buy his own by an olive gypsy. He wants the alcohol, but he can't buy it himself. You have to buy it for him. That's the only logical solution.
You're right. I thought about it just now, and that's it. That's
he was cursed by an olive farmer.
That was just part 2 right there.
Yeah.
That's the olive farmer. It was an olive farmer. That's why he's showing you, because he can't tell you about the curse either, but he can make you figure it out. The clues are there.
Truck's powertrain is only 100,000 miles. I put a curse.
Yes. That's it. My God, there's like olive farmer with magic out there.
Awful. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for being here today
thanks so
and opening
much,
up. It's been great. Do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about?
I'm going on a quest to find and kill this olive farmer.
I hope you do a blog in conjunction with it. And where can we find that blog?
If you wish, I have my web series Think Tank, which is on www.woodbinefoundation.com. That's the name of our fake think tank.
Very nice. It's very funny.
Oh yes, I now I realize what you were talking about. Yes,
it was on A&E for a minute, but now we're putting it on the web. And it is the last thing I will do because I'm retiring to go hunt olive vampires.
And can we follow you on Twitter anywhere?
Yeah, I keep tweeting the same thing at midnight. That's pretty much what I do. I've tweeted United 93 as every single thing to at midnight, hoping they'll notice. It is my name, Jeff Galante. It's my handle.
Good thing they listen to this exclusively, so this is your new in. Well, you can follow this podcast on Twitter at ChrenBen's. That's ChrenBens. You can also follow our friend Aaron here at Krenin, very funny Twitter account. And you can follow me at White Bathrobe, which is spelled how it sounds. So thank you again, Jeff, for coming.
Oh, no, thanks
you
so
much, Jeff.
Great.
I'm coming for you on a vampire.
And thank you, Ben.
Oh, thanks, Aaron.
Well, all right.
Stop the recording.
All right.
Hey, you guys got any vodka?